Good evening, everyone. Wonderful performances so far, so I'll just go ahead and get started. Milking the bull. Foolish talk, growled the king. Did you just say that your father gave birth to a child? It's the most impossible thing I've ever heard. Your Majesty, Marcella replied, maintaining her calm. If you, as you now admit, it is impossible for a man to give birth to a child, it must equally be ridiculous to milk a bull. Realizing then it was Marcella herself at the river, the king could not help but marvel at her intelligence. From the legend of Marcella, the intelligent maiden. Marcella the intelligent maiden in capital letters. Unlike the saccharine Cinderella, so called for passively sleeping in ashes, the insipid Snow White, named for her complexion, also knocked out cold, the drowsy Sleeping Beauty, dubbed for, well, taking a long nap, and here was a fair maiden who outwitted a king and thus gained her prince. Here was a pretty face without a yawning gap behind it. Best of all, she had my brown eyes and skin, my black hair. She was someone that I didn't know I hungered for, surrounded as I was by softly blonde Disney princesses, until I was well into elementary school and discovered Filipino folklore for the first time. Imagine this. I cracked open 101 popular local myths and legends, giggled at the usual twists of English, and read about why pineapples have 1,000 eyes, why Filipinos have flat noses, why there are butterflies. The legend of Marcella caught my eye because it had a simple name attached to it, not like the legend of Mariang Makiling, which was about a goddess who naturally had a tragic romance with a mortal king. Marcella sounded like a real person, perhaps one who wasn't going to die. Marcella begins the story, already famous for her wits, and the king soon hears of her and decides to test her. Like all folk tales, everything comes in threes. Number 1, the king sends her a small bird and tells her to prepare 12 dishes from it. She had been embroidering before the messengers came and holds up her needle. Tell His Royal Highness that if he can make 12 spoons out of this needle, then I too can prepare 12 menus out of this bird, she says. Number 2, the king sends her a sheep and tells her to sell it and return to him both the money and the sheep. She immediately sells the wool to a merchant and returns both the profit and the shaven animal to His Majesty. Number 3, the king tells her that she must get a cup of bull's milk to him so that he can be cured of an illness. Later that day, he also orders that the river be closed so that he could bathe. Marcella has her father slaughter a pig and spread the blood over some bedding. She goes to the river, and while the king yells at her for trespassing, not knowing whom she is, she informs him that her father had given birth the night before and that she needed to wash the bloody sheets. When the king berates her for her foolishness, after all, men can't give birth, she reminds him that bulls too can't give milk. The king, realizing her identity, is impressed with her wisdom and promptly introduces her to his son, whom she marries. Once I finish the story, I wanted to name a daughter of mine Marcella. My mother laughed and told me the name was old-fashioned. I told some fairy tales as a girl. The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Little Red Riding Hood, of course, but also more obscure ones. 7 Ravens, Donkey Skin, East of the Sun and West of the Moon. I wanted magic, the way it made everything work out in the end. The gown, the castle, the prince, the reunited family, the happily ever after. But there was something disquieting about the golden-haired princesses and rosy-lipped servant girls of the stories. How they were elevated for obedience and sweetness, and punished for naughtiness and temper. That being good was a requirement for happily ever after, and that worse, you were good or bad, never anything in between. I was neither golden-haired nor rosy-lipped. I never brush your hair, said Grandma when I would come down for breakfast, like a bird's nest. If a fairy tale girl was ever dirt-covered, her hair woven with twigs, her beauty still shone through so that a passing prince still felt love at first sight. Either way, she wasn't dirty for long. I did not learn to love cleanliness until later in life, and we still have an uneasy relationship. As a child, I picked my nose, made fire pits in the Mississippi dust out of pebbles and sticks, and lived in a mass of paper, books, and markers. Now I can never quite get to that last pile of unorganized paperwork. And now, Asian women make the best wives, said my mother. I don't remember why she decided to tell me this. But I do remember thinking that I would never be much of a housekeeper, but prefer to verbally spar with a boy than to simper, but never be Kim from the musical Miss Saigon, pining for years for a man who leaves her behind in Vietnam and marries another woman, before committing suicide so that I would be forced to take their son Finn to America. Come to think of it, what did my mother mean by best wives? Did she mean skilled feminine tasks, like cake decorating or embroidering pillowcases? That seems to be the most likely, since she has the same answer every time I, or my brothers or sister, ask who wears the pants in the family. You know your daddy is head of the family, she would say. But who paid the bills? Who did we live to when we need to do a shoebox project or need to arrange lessons for piano or driving? Who decisively dealt with authority figures asking ridiculous questions, like the king who tells Marcella to make 12 dishes from a small bird? Dad always said, ask mommy. One common element I noticed with the obscure European fairy tales I love, Seven Ravens, Donkey Skin, and East of the Sun and West of the Moon, is that it is the girl who makes the journey, the one who is an active protagonist of the story. The girl in Seven Ravens saves her brothers from an enchantment which had turned them into ravens. In Donkey Skin, the princess fends off the romantic advances of her father, yes, her father, and escapes, eventually marrying a king. In East of the Sun and West of the Moon, though, not only is the girl the heroine, she is the one who botches things up and has to rescue the prince she inadvertently condemns to marrying a troll. She makes a mistake. She has to go on the quest. She has to find her prince. She has to earn her happy ending. According to Rita Bardi, the Spaniards of the 1500s were horrified by the revolting liberty and too high social status of the woman, mujer indígena, in the Philippine Islands. Women could own property and rule the people, act as leaders of rites and ceremonies of the society, and divorce their husbands. Women wrote poems on banana leaves and sang the tribe's songs. That was considered as women's work and is still regarded as such among indigenous peoples. Thus was the fertile soil from which a Marcella can sprout. The lingering effects of Roman Catholicism and Spanish colonial machismo, as well as the fainting saintly Maria Clara of national hero Jose Rizal's novels, could be blamed for the watering down of Filipino matriarchal culture, forcing tough-skinned women to modestly claim that their men really led the family. Or have Filipino women really been completely neutered? After all, the Philippines has had two female presidents, Corazon Aquino and Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. The comparatively liberal United States, 0. Perhaps that accounts for the confusion of my childhood, the power of my female relatives who ruled the roost, and yet their constant refrain, boys don't like it if you do blank, whenever I talked just a little too loudly or disagreed too vehemently, even though they often did the same things. Bah, your grandpa should have listened to me, said my grandmother gleefully when one of his investments tanked, of which she had warned him repeatedly. Then, ay nako, act like a lady, you're talking back, your panties showing, you need to make your bed. I was expected to be simultaneously well-educated and independent on the way to becoming a doctor or lawyer, like my mother and grandmother, and well-mannered and virtuous, wary of parties, drugs, and boys. Inconsistencies galled me, a budding feminist frothing at the mouth at the purity of my ideals. Why tell me not to get married before I finish college and can provide for myself, and then say your husband is head of the household? Why tell me to be quiet when you never are? Why tell me to reconcile all these contradictions? Surely that would be impossible. And yet, only now, and only in fits and starts, can I acknowledge that the tormented knot is my heritage, that all of it, all the paradoxes about womanhood and power and being Filipina, all that long, torturous, communal, and personal history are mine. My mother and aunts and grandmothers and Gloria Macapagal Arroyo and Corazon Aquina and Maria Clara, and yes, Marcella, passed this cursed gift, or gifted curse, to me. They, their struggles, their compromises, their victories, their defeats belong to me, exist in me. Perhaps in time this knot is impossible, but I owe it to them, to myself, to try. When I ponder the appeal of Marcella, the most obvious answer for her two-dimensional charisma is her intelligence, her ability to upstage a king and get a prince for her troubles. Digging deeper, though, I find another reason for Marcella's magnetism. She is somewhat approachable. She is in no way a fully realized character. Like most heroes of folk and fairy tales, she has no recognizable flaws. She is an archetype. She is beautiful, kind, brave, and of course, wise. Yet when one examines her victories, there is nothing about them that is unworkable for an average, commonsensical person. She doesn't apply utilitarian philosophy to the question of the minuscule bird or biomedical engineering to that of the woolly sheep. The questions on the surface are impossible, but Marcella merely sits for a minute and thinks of sensible answers. Marcella is neither a princess nor a goddess. She isn't even a servant girl who gaily and patiently endures degrading conditions with nary thought of rebellion or despair. She is human. And because she's human, there is something attainable about her fame, her happy ending. She is intelligent with a capital I, but she doesn't have a dozen degrees in esoteric subjects. She is brave, but she risks ordinary dangers for her competence, as the only threat the king offers her is to discharge her father from work in the palace. Still alarming, but not the cannibalism, say, of Jack and the Beanstalk. She is beautiful, but that isn't dwelled upon. Marcella offers hope for many a clever girl, a hope that for once isn't totally impossible. Most of us are capable of being like Marcella. We cannot aspire to marry a real prince, most of us anyway, but that wasn't even the point of the story. The point was that Marcella faced down a king and his impossible demands. She earned, without magic or beauty or even exquisite goodness, her happy ending. She milked that damn bowl. Thank you.